All right, so welcome to a network automation video where I prepare for my new job. Yesterday, I attempted to make a video, but it turned out my lab was, for the most part, completely down. So I was going to recover it on video, but it just ended up taking a bit too much time. So I just continued to do that between videos. Let me see what screen I'm sharing. Okay, it's screen 2. So you'll see here the lab is now up. These, if you don't have Autobooter on, they won't Autoboot, and you've got to specify through the command boot which file they use to boot, and the file you want it to use is the OS image file. So the command is boot nxos.9.3.3. And then there's more than just that, but you can do a dir to figure out what the file is, which is what I did. So here is that device. One thing that I might want to see if I can do right now is see if I can configure Autoboot. So nope, I don't see how I can do that really easily just right off the cuff. So that'll take some investigation to figure out. So that's fine. I'll just save it for later in case it becomes a bigger issue. But for now, I will show that I've got Ansible running. Yep, so you can see I just did that command. So I'll do it one more time. So I'm running 2.8.5. And if I do a ifconfig, you can see I've got my IP addresses set up, so I can ping the management addresses of all of the equipment in this lab. So we're going to have 5 devices in this lab. And in addition to that, I can also ping the public internet. There we go. So one of the things I decided to do, if we take a look at the route, I decided to just have the default route be pointing out to the public internet, which of course I would need to do in order to have it accessible. But I made a static route to access the lab equipment. So the reason I'm bringing this up is because this required different configuration on iOS v-2. Previously on that device, I'll do a show run here. Under IP DHCP pool, I had a default router set up to push out to Docker guest. But if I did that, then I would have a second default route here that would be pointing out to the lab. But that default route had a metric of 223, so it ended up being preferred over this route. So I did not have the ability to access the public internet when I had that default router set up here. So my solution was to just remove it and statically configure a route on here, this one here, that would allow me to reach the lab gear. I'm kind of wondering if there's a way I can push this out automatically or do that in a better fashion so that I don't have to configure this, because my goal in setting up DHCP on iOS v-2 is to minimize the amount of contact I need to have on this guest-1 in order to have IP functionality. Before I had the DHCP server enabled, I would have to manually configure ETH0. But now this saves me of that problem. And hopefully there's a way to push that route to it as well, but that's something I'll do in between videos. For this video, what I would like to do is continue on with templates now that my lab is good to go. Last video I attempted to do that, but I had issues with the lab. So I think in the last video I did the reading already, and yep, and I made it all the way to making the template. Fortunately, I have lost those files because my lab was having a problem and I needed to recreate them. But the good news is not only is it not a lot of extra work to recreate, it can reinforce the concepts and give me more much needed practice. So let's do that. So one thing that's interesting to note is this line here, hosts. So they don't show you the hosts file that they are intending you to use when they do this -i hosts, but we can tell from the playbook itself what we're expecting to find in there, and that's just a local host. So we do have a sense of what is expected to be in that host file, even though we can't see it in its entirety. Here we have a formatting that looks unusual. It's just due to the browser and how it's formatting this book. So it's going to be just the usual formatting where it's indented under the key. This is kind of a Hocon syntax. So Hocon is kind of like JSON, but it's more human readable JSON. So it's Hocon. It's got a Wikipedia entry. So under the Wikipedia entry, there are multiple references that can hopefully show a little bit more detail as to what I mean by Hocon. But that's something that I think if somebody watching this is more interested in, they can go look up on their own. The short story behind Hocon is just that it's basically like JSON, but with more flexible syntax. So this looks like a good site, docs.streambase. It'll tell you all you need to know about the syntax for Hocon. So I've got to use a custom path here because I'm not using the same environment that the author is using. Okay, so that's it for the playbook. Before I run it, I will need to create that host file as well. I'm not sure exactly what is needed in there, but I do know that localhost is going to be there. So I think I'm going to search through the book and hopefully find an example of the playbook that has local hosts in it. All right, and I don't see that example, so what I'm going to do is skip ahead to my bookmark and then look at the Git repo for this book. I'm going to do that through a search, so technically it wasn't necessary to skip ahead, but so I'm going to need to be doing that again. I'll just go out here and look at it in the Git repo itself. So this is going to be, I believe, chapter 5, and it's going to be the host file. Perfect. So it'll be localhost under servers. That's all we're going to need in our version of that file. All right, so now I will need to skip ahead to that again. And there's the glitch where it runs off. Easy to correct just by doing that again, resizing the window again. So now it's time to run the playbook. So we've got an issue here. The issue is a syntax while loading YAML. Okay, so it's not Hocon, it's YAML. Of course, yeah, because it's .yml. So you can kind of forget what I said about Hocon, and in fact that you're going to have a bit better documentation for YAML anyway, so that's pretty good news that it is YAML, because there's better documentation out there. Yep. All right, so let's see what the issue is. The error appears to be line 14. Okay, let's take a look at line 14 there. So under this template, oh, so I wonder if it's meant to be templates, because every other one is meant, it has templates. Oh, either that or I forgot the space here. That could be it. Let me try that. You can see there is a space there. Yep. Oops. Yeah, and then I'll indent everything one more so that the line is nice and pretty. So that was the issue. It had a space that was missing. Failed to connect via SSH. Okay, so I think I need to set up SSH on my local host here. And that's the other thing I did between videos that I forgot to comment on. So if you go to cat etc resolve.conf, you can see I've got a name server here. I had to add that because that was blank, and the guest was not able to use DNS as a result. Okay, so we've got it unreachable because I don't have SSH set up on here. Okay, so I'm going to need to learn how to do that again. So we're going to be using OpenSSH. We're going to be installing it in Ubuntu. Okay, so we've got OpenSSH now, so let's try enabling the service. Perfect, we've got the service enabled, so let's try starting the service. Okay, so we're unable to connect to the bus when I do that. So let's try testing login. So we still got that same connection refused message. Let's check the status. All right, so that connection refuse is usually synonymous with firewall issues. So let's change the firewall. Oops, so we don't have the ability to do that. Okay, so my key value pair was not on there anymore because I recreated this server. So connection refused. Oops, and I closed the repo by accident. So I'll go back through my history and reopen it. And now I will check how to enable SSH on Linux again and use a different link. Aha, here we go. And this is OpenBSD Secure Shell SSH, so we did not need, we can do an apt get remove, and then, or let's go back to the command to pull it. Right, so this is OpenSSH. So I'll just leave it for now, but let's do SSH localhost. Aha. Okay, so I don't have a password set up for my root yet. Let's make a user account that, let's set up a password for the root account. Okay, so there's some issue where even though I'm typing in the password I assigned it, it is not able to accept it. So I'll try reassigning the password. And then attempting login again. Okay, so very clearly, no matter what I assign it, I'm going to assign the password 123. And if I enter 123, the password is not accepted, even though that is the root password for sure. So unfortunately, permission is denied. Okay, so here's a file that I think will help that password to be accepted. So we might have a tunneled clear text password. So I'm going to try enabling that. It's generally Not recommended, I think, but I just want to learn more about this playbook for now. And I am in the lab. So I wonder if I'm going to need to restart the daemon. Nope, still nothing. So I don't know why I can't SSH into myself. So Linux cannot SSH into local host. Aha, here we go. This is exactly what I need. Okay, so let's remove the configuration file. Perfect. Now let's get rid of OpenSSH server. Okay, so now let's try reinstalling it. Okay, so I think the issue is I just don't have a valid user account I can use to log in with. So let's set up that user account to be the same as the other ones. Admin, Cisco class with an @ symbol. So yep, it's going to be just like this file here. So let's do we're going to use a different username and password. So let's set that here. So we're going to do wd, and then it's going to be admin. Oh, so we gotta use a user admin. There we go, and then admin. C, capital C, ISCO, capital C, L, @SS. Perfect. So now let's see what happens SSHing. Aha. So we're good to go. And now we can try running that playbook again, but we're going to need to first modify the host file so that it has the correct username and password. Oh, and it's going to be within templates. We're also going to need custom names for our iOS devices. We can't use the names given in the example. So the names we'll use will come straight from the lab. Likewise for the NXOV devices. And the Arista. Well, the Arista actually, I'm using the same. So this is good to go. Hopefully it runs better now. So we still got unreachable 1 here. Permission is still denied to connect to the local host. So let's see why that was denied, because we saw it in fact was not denied. Yep, so if I specify the username and I specify the password, permission is not denied, it is allowed. Oh, it looks like the home directory is not created for some reason. So let's create that home directory somehow. Okay. So add user is too basic and doesn't set the defaults properly. It's recommended to use user add. I don't know why they don't just get rid of add user, but let's do as they say and remove the user and re-add it. Oops. Oh, so you can remove it with add user. Or delete user. Aha, so we did it. Now let's recreate it. Oops. Okay, well, let's just do the manual steps to create the home directory for the new user. Okay, so it looks like everything is good to go. Let's try SSHing again, and hopefully things look more normal. Oops, and I never set the password on it, so I'm going to do that now. Okay, so now hopefully this will work. Perfect, so everything looks really good. I got a notification I'm going to have something delivered to my house. Okay, they're not here yet, so I can continue going with the video. Otherwise, I probably would have to cut it because it is groceries, and it's not super hot today, but I am in Texas. So let's try running that playbook again. Okay, so we still got that unreachable message. Even though we can see it's plenty reachable, everything looks normal, we're in our home directory, there's really no issues at all. So it says that the permission was denied, even though it's not denied when I entered it manually. Let's see. Yep, so the password looks correct. There's very clearly an issue where I can't access the local host. I don't know how it's expecting me to be able to do that. Is it expecting me to SSH into myself? Is it expecting me to have some sort of extra option? And the other thing I'm confused about is why can't I just use the hosts file? Oh, so I'm trying to log in as root, but I say to log in as admin, so let's try to figure this out and get this to work, because I know when I implement Ansible in production, I'm going to have similar issues. So just learning how to work through issues is what is valuable to me. Okay, so it looks like one thing I can do is just not define localhost in my inventory. Okay, and that's all I needed to do, because If you don't define localhost in your inventory, Ansible will explicitly do the things you need to do to configure things on your local host. It looks like we did get an error message here. So failed, could not find or access on the Ansible controller. If you are using a okay, so it's just because the oh, did they deliver everything? Okay. Nope, there's bringing it to my door now. I can probably see them. Okay. Yep, I can see them at my door. So they're just bringing it up to the door, and then I'll get a final message and end the video and bring in my groceries. I could probably just pause it, but it's probably lunch. Yeah, so I'm going to take an extended break, so I might as well just end the video. But you can see I've got an OK message. However, it's kind of a false OK message, because if I go here and do an ls, you can see I actually don't have that file too. So let's do a pwd to get the present working directory and see if this matches. So it's going to be home root templates file 1. It wasn't able to find that. Now, I wonder if that's because it's searching in the admin directory because I gave it that. So I think I'm going to edit my playbook right now and change the absolute path to admin. Oh, but I know it's not in admin. Oh, and it said, yeah, no, it said that it was here. Could not find or access. You're using a module. Remote source option. So I know that's not going to be the issue, so I will revert that. I guess I'm curious enough to just try it, but if it happens to work, it will be for magical reasons that I don't understand, which is never a good thing. I always want things to work or not work based on principles that I can understand. Okay, so it's gonna be this issue here, could not find or access the Ansible controller. So let's try this, the whole thing in here. Yeah, so it failed because it could not find that source file, even though we can clearly see it's right here. We can actually do a cat on this. And, oh, okay. Oh, but this is because we changed it. So if we run it again, we'll get the file path, but it'll still be an error. But since that's a legitimate file path to the actual file, because we knew that other one wasn't going to work because that was not a legitimate file path. But this, oh, that's interesting. Okay, so it legit, that's not the, oh, okay, yeah, it's this home here. That's not a part of the path, so. Okay, so this is the true path. And now, conveniently, we're going to get a successful result right as soon as they are done delivering my stuff. And I can Aha, so yep, now we've got a changed one, do an ls, and we've got that second file, file 2. So conveniently, right at the last minute, this was successful. And all we did was we copied a file to another one, but we did it using Ansible. These source files can have any extension, but since they are processed through the Jinja 2 template engine, let's create a text file called nxos.j2 as the template source. The template will follow the Jinja 2 convention of using double curly braces to specify the variables, as well as using the curly brace plus the percentage sign to specify commands. So this is looks like we're really getting into the exciting stuff. So I'm going to do this in another video. Since I've got everything up and running good, I can just come back later today and make another video on this. But until then, I got to bring my groceries in. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.